Welcome to C.O.R.E Conversations, a City of North Mankato podcast. Join the conversation to learn what's at the core of North Mankato.
Welcome back. I am North Mankato Mayor Scott Carlson, and with us today is Beans Coffee Company owners and Roastmaster General. So we'll start with the Roastmaster General, Jon Michels. Next to him, to his right, we have Eric Poppler.
Hello.
And then to his left, we have Sharkey. And so we're so glad to have you. You're actually our first local business we've had on the podcast, so we're excited. I know we're taking second fiddle to they've already been on the Get Deep podcast. So they've had the 3-hour version of Across the River, but now we're going to shorten it up a little bit.
Oh, I thought the show was going to be like 5-6 hours.
Well, we could make it that way. We'll see. So welcome. We're super excited to have this podcast to highlight businesses, activity goings on in the city, and history, and other things that do come up. So welcome again. So, I mean, any one of you can kind of take the lead a little bit. Beans Coffee Company is your main company. And then we know that in North Mankato, we have a branch off that that also obviously serves your coffee. And so maybe one of you wants to start off and touch on that.
Yeah, so Beans Coffee Company we started in 2012 to 2014 is actually roasting coffee. So
and step down what like professionality that makes us sound
right.
like, because this was literally
popper.
using a used popcorn popper on the doorstep of my apartment because we didn't even have a garage yet to start.
Okay, we say we're established at this point. You don't need to tell them those details.
Just when you say it the first time, it sounds a lot like here's what we did and whatever. It's like, wait, kind of.
Right. But by 2014, we actually started using a gas grill instead of an air pop popcorn popper. So we really crushed it at that point.
Right. Yeah. And so what we are a craft small batch coffee roaster. Right. And we are the definition kind of that organic growth. Again, starting from a doorstep. And then we've kind of just slowly been adding aspects to our business, got into some commercial spaces, got into some commercial accounts, added a full-scale roastery off of Lamp Street.
And a Roastmaster General.
Roastmaster General. We got a coffee shop that we just opened up in Lower North called Beans Coffee House, and kind of just letting that grow over time as we put things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. It kind of piggybacks a little bit off of, we haven't had him on, but for Boom Chicka Pop, Jamie Como, a friend of mine, we're getting the tour of their facility too and seeing how they've modified popcorn poppers at first and still do in some of their area to make the popcorn the way they want it made.
Well, and actually, funny thing there, the garage that they started in was kitty corner in my backyard of where our garage is at.
Really?
And we get so many people that talk like, oh, you guys are like the Angie story. It's like, well, I guess by meaning we both started with nothing. Otherwise, they shut off.
They got a lot more zeros in them than we do.
Right.
So far.
But to bring it full circle back to popcorn, if I do my job poorly, we end up with popcorn instead of coffee.
Yeah, which is
true.
It looks like popcorn. I don't know if it's the cellular structure's the same, but it turns into that same fluffy white stuff. Just not very tasty. It's got that burnt coffee flavor to it, but it looks like popcorn.
Definitely not what we aim for.
Right. And actually, though, when you are roasting it, when you're roasting coffee, it doesn't even smell like you think of roasted coffee like you have that aroma in your head. It smells like either burnt toast or burnt popcorn when you're roasting it.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because that's one of the things that people always say is like, oh, I bet you your place just smells great. And it's like, no, it actually has a reminiscent of burnt popcorn. And it's a really heavy smell. And my wife hates it when I would come home and just reek of the stuff.
Smells like it needs an air freshener. How about that?
It smells good by the time it gets delivered to the person. But when you're actually doing the process, it's a little different.
It used to be that. So Clay and I would roast coffee over our lunch breaks back in the day. And just kind of get it done. And I'd come back to the bank that I work at. And literally several times people would be like, did somebody burn toast? Yeah, must have. Yeah, I think it was somebody that burned the toast. It wasn't me at all.
Well, I was just at youth track camp today, and it did smell like burnt toast heavy today. So maybe you guys were making some doing some beans across the street. Maybe
we
on
definitely were.
I may have done a solid 30 batches this morning.
How about a little bit about your background? So, like, you are the Roastmaster General.
if you want to call me that, sure.
You have several titles. We'll touch on those later.
Beansmeister.
Beansmeister. But like just how each of you maybe got into this, like, so, I mean, even just starting with you, I know it sounds backwards, but starting with, like, how did you get into this avenue?
It's kind of serendipity when you really look at it. Those two were already kind of screwing around with this in the garage before I even caught wind of that whole thing. But I had just read a history of coffee and was fascinated by it, and talked to Eric, who was my college roommate, about those details, and like, why? How do you know what cupping is? Stuff like that, because they were doing that themselves. And over time, while they were in the farmers market stage, I just kind of helped out. You want to see your friends succeed and do good things. So my free time went to helping them to a point where they needed extra help, and it turned into a paying gig. And now I'm apparently the Beanmeister.
But actually, so at the farmer's market, it was so much to the point where like he would hang out for a couple hours there where like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. John's like, I'll take care of it. So he'd be like running it when we're gone or something. And he didn't even work there. So
you're important when they give you a handful of dollars and say, hey, we need more ones. Go to the bank and come back with the envelope. And like, see you later on a Saturday morning.
Right.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, just the fact that you kind of just wanted to help your friends and, get to farmer's market, help wherever you could, wherever you could. And it turns into it grows and it turns into a job with them. That's pretty cool.
I'm just waiting for the envelope to get big enough that I can go to Mexico before they notice that anything's missing.
Yeah, that'll be a little while.
How about you, Mr. Sharkey? What got you into coffee?
Well, mine would probably be the thing that actually started it.
Okay.
So the kind of the beans origin story comes out of when my wife and I got married. We went on our honeymoon to Glacier, and when we were there, we were looking at that those racks that they have of all the different things you can go and look at and see. Well, they had a coffee roastery tour, and so then at that point, enjoyed coffee, always drank coffee, didn't know anything beyond that. So we're like, well, let's go and do that. That sounds kind of interesting. So we went and took that tour, and this is a full scale roastery with full on production, everything. And we're going around, he's giving the tour, it's really cool, and walking through like how the process works. And then the thing that stuck with me was at the very end of it, he goes, it's kind of just like a glorified popcorn popper. And so that just then stuck. And so then you got a 21-hour drive home, you do some Googling, and you find out that you can go and roast popcorn in a popcorn popper.
Roast coffee in a popcorn
popper. I'm sorry, roast coffee in a popcorn
You
popper.
can do both.
Yeah, he could. He's not wrong.
It's really good at roasting, doing popcorn.
I pop popcorn in a coffee roast.
But so that was how we kind of started, was kind of found out that you can. And then the only modification you had to do to the popcorn popper is there's this little feature in there that will cause it to turn off when it gets too hot. You just got to take that piece out.
Don't melt down thing.
Yeah, so you got to take that piece out, and then you can roast
Don't
coffee.
do this at home, please.
Yeah, our coffee originally was definitely not BPA free, but it totally is BPA free.
But if you actually go to our coffee shop downtown, in Lower North, we have the original popcorn popper, and it's like melted.
Yeah, you can tell that we took that feature out because it kind of leans to one side.
Glory.
My goodness.
And so then found out that we could go and do that, and then had met Eric at church through a small group, and then just like hanging out and said, hey, I'm going to roast some coffee. You want to come do it? Sure. And so then we started doing that. And we were just doing that occasionally whenever we need some coffee on the weekends. And then our very first Christmas rush order came when his sister-in-law wanted to go and buy a bag of coffee to go and give as a Christmas gift.
Right.
And so then the obvious answer to that as an entrepreneur is, of course, let's go and do that. And then after she leaves, it's like, how are we going to do this? Because we have the coffee, but we need a bag, we need a label, we need a logo and stuff. So what do you do there when you only need to buy a single bag? Because it'd be really unprofitable to buy a big rack of bags for doing a single order. In the grocery stores, they have like that self-serve grinder area.
Yes.
And they always have those spare bags there.
You didn't.
Yep, you go and grab one of those ones. It may or may not have been Cameron's.
Thank you, Cameron's.
Cover it with our label.
So you bring that back, put that in your pocket, bring it home, and then your quality inkjet printer. You have your wife go and whip up a logo on Word, print it out, slap it on there, and then...
Then we spend 4 hours roasting enough to get one. Because what he didn't tell you is when you're roasting coffee in an air pop popcorn popper, you can do about a quarter of a cup each time. And it's awful coffee because it's essentially like scorching the coffee. But we're doing this and it's in the middle of winter.
Yeah, the biggest kicker was we had done this one in winter, and up to that point we had done all of our roasting in the summer and the fall. Well, the way that a popcorn popper works is it takes the ambient air temperature, heats it up and does it. Well, that works fine when you're starting at 70 degrees, but when you're starting at 20 degrees, the little popcorn popper can't quite get hot enough to go and actually fully cook the coffee. So then, being how bright and thinking that we are, you go and get a couple space heaters, and then you point them at the popcorn popper.
Hey, it
to
worked.
Go and preheat the
until
air.
it didn't.
I was not involved at this time.
I was imagining 2 propane tanks and those big torches.
Yeah, right.
I could just see you guys.
We just roasted like that.
Yeah, and so that worked well until the circuit breaker blew in my apartment building's garages, and then we had to move it inside. And then coffee roasting is pretty smoky, so then we had to go and look like marijuana addicts that we had to go and tape off all of the windows, cover up the smoke alarms, put a fan to blow it out the window, and we roasted a bag of coffee very unprofitably.
Yep.
But that was sale number one.
But it was fun.
That was sale number one.
Yep.
But again, you hear a ton of this with startups. Like, yeah, we can do this. And you're like, how are we going to get this done?
Oh crap!
We made the
Now
commitment.
what?
Now
Right,
how do we do
made
it?
the commitment.
Yep.
Right.
Well, how about you, Eric? What we know a little bit how this
Right.
got started, but you must have had a little interest before that.
Yeah, and so I originate my portion of it. Well, first of all, like growing up, I loved coffee since I was probably like 13, 14 years old. Like coffee shops were my place. I loved it. Just my little sanctuary. So I loved the idea of just getting a coffee shop at some point. Clay's passion was the roasting side. Mine was more the coffee shop side. But so I've always had that passion for coffee. I loved it. And then met Clay, as we said, through that. And, when you don't have kids and you don't have obligations when you're newly married, you got time. So he was like, hey, I'm going to try roasting coffee. You want to come over? Like, sure. I don't know. Why not? It's a Tuesday night. Nothing else to do. And first he tried it actually on his pan. Remember that? And it like scorched the whole pan. And
Yeah, you know how normally the coffee beans are like all brown? This one was only like half brown because you had to go and flip them and stir them. And again, it's very smoky in the kitchen of my apartment complex. And
You're making cowboy coffee.
right.
yeah, that was the worst coffee we've ever made.
But yeah, from there, so I was like, yeah, okay, let's try it out. So we got the popcorn popper going. We're like, hey, it legitimately made coffee. And we drank it and it tasted like coffee. It wasn't great.
Reminiscent.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it was like, our kind of story of actually outside of the one bag Christmas rush was, we were at our church, love our church. Our church coffee sucks. It was church coffee. We're both drinking it and we both look at each other like, we could do better than this. We don't even know how to make coffee yet. We can do better. And then luckily we found online somebody that converts gas grills into coffee roasters. So that was kind of the first real big step that we were able to take. So, this is like as rigged up as you can get. Like they take out all the innards, they bolt a ice cream maker motor to the side of it, and then there's a drum that spins. Because at the end of the day, full disclosure, coffee is extremely complex to make. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's not that difficult. It's just heat it up and move it around. So you have this drum that's moving the coffee with the ice cream maker motor and just the heat from the grill. So we were able to do about 6 pounds at a time there. And that's kind of what got us into looking at the farmer's market and different things like that. So
yeah, and so you kind of mentioned like the organic growth. We started there. We each threw $200 in, bought the grill, bought a bag of beans, and then started doing the farmer's market. And then that's grown from originally we had just a card table with bags of coffee, and then we took that, rolled it got some crafts, got some brewers, started having samples, then actually doing drip cups, and now fast forward a number of years, we actually went and built a coffee trailer during COVID, wasn't it?
right, yep. In 2020, and we actually
with it.
Okay.
we were actually just at a soccer fest in North Mankato with
You did the coffee trailer there.
with the coffee trailer there. Yeah, so we move all over the place. We do grad parties. We still do the farmer's market every Saturday. But we have a lot of different events. I think we have 15 events this month with the trailer.
Yep. And, but yeah, and then started the farmer's market. That gave us a little bit of exposure, a little bit of, following, because luckily there were no other coffee roasters. And then, one of the things that also kind of worked out for us, North Mankato are great as far as like really latching onto those local businesses. When they see something that is cool, we have definitely been the benefactor of that pride in their town. And so what we didn't realize is as we're doing stuff at the farmer's market, one of the buyers or not one of the buyers, but one of the more influential employees at Hy-Vee had become kind of a regular customer. And so she had gone back to Hy-Vee and kind of had preached us up and just said like, hey, we got to go and, have these guys. And one thing that we learned through this that we didn't realize was that one of the differences between like, say, how Hy-Vee does their buying versus what like a Cub does is that Hy-Vee does have a degree of store specific ability for purchasing versus a Cub has got more centralized purchasing. And so then this person had gotten put in good word for us and got us in, and they said like, yep, we'd love to go and have you guys in. We can do local stuff here, but you have to be legal.
Right.
And so at that point we were legal, but we were not legal for
we were under cottage food laws at that point.
Yeah. So there's this cool rule at the state that you can go and kind of start at a homegrown selling his business, but at a point you got to graduate. And so, and for the cottage food laws, one of the requirements is you have to physically be the one to hand the coffee to the end consumer.
And let them know that it's not been state inspected, all those different things like that.
Yep. And so then, so selling it through a grocery store, you're not making that direct customer contact. You can't do that information, so you can't do those sales. And so that's when we went and jumped from my garage in my new house, or my house at the time, to then we got our dedicated roastery and an actual commercial grade roaster with ventilation.
Yeah, and keep your expectations down for this as well. It's the basement of a strip mall that had been vacant for several years.
It's a dungeon.
Yeah, we lucked out that they get really.
Thank you for using the word mall.
Well, one of the things that worked out well for us though is rent is very negotiable when the space has been unoccupied for a decade.
Right.
And so originally our
from there.
Yeah, well actually originally, so Eric was the one that at the bank he worked at, they had this building and they said like, wait, nobody rents this space. We're not going to be able to rent this space. Tell you what, you give us coffee, we'll let you go and occupy out of there. Yep. So we paid rent and coffee for the first number of years.
So I mean, it was equivalent to about $80 a month in rent, just because of the coffee that we provided for the bank. So that was pretty awesome. That was
which was really cool of them to go and do that.
Cool.
Absolutely,
and the bank was still winning.
Right? Yep. Yeah, they were up $80 from where they were before.
Well, their production was probably up too through the caffeine. Which
darn tootin'.
I wrote the word down movie. I'm like, I could just see this being like a local movie. We got to find some local producer and just kind of, I can imagine this.
Yeah, we got a lot of stories. I almost set his garage on fire. Oh, I did actually kind of set the whole place on fire.
So there's a window out the side of my house to go and overlooks the garage. And my wife went and said, she goes, yeah, you see Eric move real fast when the flames get high.
Although I thought very casual, because the problem was back then, it's like to empty out this drum, you had to like pour it all out. Yeah. And if you didn't finish pouring it all out in time, you put it back on, you put more beans in. Well, you have fully roasted beans already in there for the next roast. It's roasting again, and then it starts on fire, and there's so many oils and everything. And so I walked in asking his wife, like, "You guys happen to have a fire extinguisher around here?" And there's flames all over. So,
I guess we've gotten a lot of where you've started to where you've kind of come to currently, I think, for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm. Closer.
So your final, right now, current operations, just to get me caught up in case I'm missing something too, is current operations kind of include what? So you're like warehouse space or, number of bags or whatever you want to call it, pounds of coffee beans that are going out in a month or whatever. Where are we at now compared to when you started up?
Well, John, do you want to touch on that since you're
coffee master, grandmaster?
Yeah, in the roastery side of things in Mankato proper. Sorry, it's not North Mankato, but we're getting in basically a pallet of beans, if not two, every week in our space. Which when we first,
our first Christmas roast was one bag,
right?
And now it's about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of coffee going through there
every week.
And that used to be maybe a month or every other month size order at the old place.
When we hired John on him originally, it was because we would roast coffee prior to going to work in the morning. So we'd get there at maybe like 6 a.m. and roast until we have to go to work at 8. And then we had this algorithm on here to tell you what time you need to get there. And as we've been getting more popular, because we do online sales, free delivery to the North Mankato area, getting our name out there a little bit more, getting a few more commercial spaces with the Hy-Vees and different other places, that it actually ended up, once it hits midnight, it errored out. So it's
that's when we knew we needed to go and hire somebody.
Right.
Was when it said we needed to start the evening before to be able to be done the following morning.
Right.
And our wives are accommodating, but not that accommodating.
Right. And luckily we had John there, where John's like, hey, if you guys ever need help, I'm here. So we actually hired him originally part-time to work, maybe 5-6 hours a week, something like that.
Yep. So for about 3 years, I was driving down every Tuesday night after my day job in the Twin Cities to come roast, and then I would drive home or crash on someone's couch here in Mankato, and then graciously we upgraded to a full-time gig, so I just have to drive to town every day.
Wow, that's pretty cool though. Yeah, you go from the Twin Cities. The actual Twin Cities, what I called out the Twin Cities South, right? Mankato with Mankato.
Yeah, right.
Not the Twin Cities proper.
No.
Right.
How about picking out where do you source your beans from? Do you actually go off location at all? Go to different areas to kind of test beans out or try some different beans out, or do you kind of have a go-to already that it's just kind of that's where you source them out from?
So a lot of our stuff, we are YouTube University trained, and so to kind of learn how to do any of this stuff, it was basically just find a blog, find a YouTube channel, and kind of learn that way. And so that's where we got a lot of the coffee types that we rely on. So Sumatran coffee, so coffee from Indonesia is kind of like the biggest base of the coffee that we do. But what we do is we actually get the coffee from, I had a friend whose brother was a coffee roaster. And so when I started getting interested in this, I asked him just, hey, where do you get your beans? And so he said that he gets it from this place in the city. It's called Cafe Imports. And so at the time we signed up for them, and actually for us it worked out good because normally coffee comes in 150-pound sacks. And so to begin with, that's like a 4-month supply. And
not to mention we couldn't afford that.
And we couldn't afford that
just right
at
out
the
of
time.
college.
Yep. And so then what was really nice about these guys though is that they would take that 150-pound bag and they'd break it into 25-pound partial bags. And so then we start out with our single 25-pound order. And so then we started with them, and that was kind of why, was just because they were the only ones that were willing to do that.
But what was nice with them was that they offered a bunch of free samples. So they give you a pound of whatever you wanted to try out. So we would get every 25-pound bag we get 10 samples to try out. And so that's let's see which ones are good and everything. So that's kind of what made us start expanding.
Yeah. And so then, and then what we didn't realize with them was how big of a player in the world of green coffee. So that's the man bun way of saying the unroasted coffee.
Right.
And so it's the green, they're actually a really large player in the world of green coffee. And so much so, I used to go and drive my car up there to go and pick up the bags. And then, I'd get to their warehouse and, I'm up there picking 3 bags. And then I walk into this place and it's literally about a football field and a half long. And they got just pallet upon pallet going up probably about 20 feet high of sacks of coffee in Roseville, Minnesota.
Just thousands and thousands of these 150-pound bags.
Yeah, so it really makes you feel very not proud of yourself when you see how much coffee is going through there. Right. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll go take my 3 bags and head home.
No, but you haven't really had to, which is great, right? You never had to really go out of the country. You had to have to.
Definitely would be something that
we
we
haven't
Gotten to.
we haven't gotten to.
That's on the list.
Right.
Yeah, so it definitely would be fun to be able to. We had done my family and I had done a trip to Hawaii and did tour a coffee plantation there. And that's so most, just from a geography standpoint, most coffee is grown somewhere between the tropics. So if you think back to geography school or geography class, tropics of Capricorn and Cancer, all of the coffee grows within those ribbons, with the exception of Hawaii, which is just slightly outside of it. And so we got to go and take a tour of a coffee plantation there. And boy, a lot of respect. That is hard work. The people that actually run and operate the coffee plantation farms, that is definitely a tough manual labor.
It's all handpicked.
Yep, it's handpicked stuff. And when you think about a cup of coffee, which I have multiple cups of coffee a day, lots of people do. In a cup of coffee, it's got around 70 coffee beans in it. And so if you think about their inside, so a coffee bean is actually the pit of a cherry, and there's 2 beans on the inside of the cherry. So that means that for that cup of coffee, somebody had to pick 35 individual cherries
And then pop
for
them
that
out.
thing.
Wow.
Yep. And then if you have multiple
not know
cups during the day, it's quite the process. And these plantations, they're not grown in like Minnesota flat farmland territories. This is like mountainside, high elevation, difficult to get to terrain to work with. So this is a lot of manual, a lot of putting, burlap sacks around your neck to go and accumulate these things.
Yeah,
Right.
I have there's a Margarita's her name, and they've actually attended. We actually go to the same church, just ironically, but she actually attends our church, and I think she is part owner with the family in a coffee plantation in Mexico.
Oh, cool.
And so we've talked a little bit at school about that, about how hard it is to operate the plantations, and if you get extra dry years, you might have some kill off of your coffee plants, whatever and stuff. And so I know she's had to send money back to restart some of their plantation to get things going again. So yeah, it's a grind from what I've talked about with her.
Ching.
Pardon me?
Ching. You put that grind reference in there. Didn't you realize it?
See, I know. And the drummer didn't even have the kit ready to go. So
Yeah, right. Come on.
Yeah, and that's actually was kind of the funny thing. Like, so, coffee is a crop. Well, we didn't put that connection to it till a number of years.
Yeah, that was a
into it.
big fail on our end.
Yeah, because so we, coffee is just when you need coffee, you go and order coffee. And so then we had a few different varieties at this point, and a lot of them were what's called single origin, which means that the coffee is entirely from a single location. And so we had one that was a Guatemalan-based coffee that we had as something that we just always had done.
Which was our second most popular roast at the time as well.
Yep.
So a lot of it going out.
Yeah. And so then it got to be like, I don't know if it was like January or February, something. It, ran out of beans, got to go and order a new shipment to go and come in. And I go and call up the cafe imports to go. It's like, yeah, can I go get some Guatemalan? He goes,
Yeah,
no.
in June.
Yeah. Well, please check back later. He goes, and I was like, oh, why not? He's like, why would we have Guatemalan coffee at this time of the year? And I'm sitting there like, okay. And so yeah. So then,
like asking for sweet corn from Minnesota in January. Right?
exactly.
Exactly.
Right. And yeah. And so then you not knowing the lingo, not knowing the whatever, we have to be the ones that acting stupid.
Work.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's then how, like what Eric said, that was our number 2 bestseller. And so then we had outstanding orders for it. So then there we go. Now our River Valley blend gets born because it was a quick, how do we find something that has the same characteristics as that one very, very quickly to be able to respond to these orders, do some customer service, explain to them and say like, hey, guess what? We have a new variety for you to try, but it's
Right. And actually,
This is
so
good.
that was actually kind of cool because we made that for the purpose of just trying to have it in the interim for our Guatemalan blend. And so many people latched onto it and loved it so much that we're like, well, might as well just keep it then, I guess. So yeah, we have River Valley and we have 3 Minute now. So it's,
So they have like some seasonal blends, right?
well,
Yeah,
we do, but
unintentionally
we actually now prepare beforehand. So
ahead of time.
we never run out of it now.
Right.
But yeah.
We'll try to get back to John a little bit. So maybe you can chime in on this one.
I talk
think
too
early.
much. You're opening a dangerous Pandora's
I know.
box.
So maybe some. Well, first of all, I mean, product offerings like at the store in North Mankato. What kind of offerings? I mean, do you have coffee? What else do you have like at the store there?
On the retail level, we pretty much just stick to the 12-ounce premium stuff. We have a couple of tiers that we do various other offerings, like a commercial element that we do for Hermel right now for their office coffee kind of wholesale stuff. But in terms of what you're going to get at Hy-Vee is the top rung, like this is the best that we have to offer. And
And are you talking about the coffee shop now?
Either, either it's fine with me. Local sales as far as Hy-Vee, and then also the coffee shop. So
yeah,
Gotcha.
So the beans that you're going to find in a retail setting, those are all going to be the fair trade organic things that it's important to us, and we know it's important to our customers to make sure that we have the same integrity that our products do, and that everything is above board. And when you get to the coffee house, then that translates to happy, smiley cups of espresso that our baristas are pulling every day. We haven't heard a lot of bad words, so I think we're doing a good job with that.
yeah, I'm an espresso guy myself.
Right.
I've told my story at least once, I think, on here, so we'll hold off on that. I'll tell you that one later.
You're gonna save the coffee one for later?
Yeah, I have
Come
to.
on.
I think we've heard this one before, so I can't say it. So, but
like
let's just say I didn't know that there were already. I didn't know how many. I didn't know when you asked for like a mocha, let's just say, that there were already certain shots of espressos in the mochas.
Oh, so you had a very productive day one
So I
time.
had a very productive, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, until finally somebody said, "Do you want 3 extra shots in your mocha, or in addition to?" I said, "What do you mean in addition to?" So it was a very productive 3 weeks.
Nice.
My eyes were wide open.
But our actual coffee house downtown, we have, the standard, the mochas, different things like that. But we also have a breakfast menu of different pastries and different other things like that come from River Rock Bakery and Shy's Vegan Bakery, so locally sourced there. And then we also have pretty much a full lunch menu with soups, sandwiches, salads, different things like that as well, on top of just the coffee.
Yeah, and actually the Beans Coffee House is the name of our coffee shop, and actually kind of where that came from. A lot of the stuff that we've been able to do, we've kind of built some relationships along the way, and those relationships can lead to other opportunities. And Beans Coffee House is a perfect example of that. So I work at Pioneer Bank here in town full time, and we actually had a foreclosure property down on Belgrade. And so we had got the property back. My boss was busy going in at the closing table to go and sell that building to this lady. And so as they're doing the paperwork and stuff, he's kind of making small talk and just saying like, "Well, what are you going to do with this space?" And she's kind of went into saying like, "Oh, I got a home decor store and stuff. But boy, when I talk to people around the area about what they want, they really want to have a coffee shop." And so they heard the word coffee. He goes, "Well, tell you what, before you leave, I wanted to introduce you to Clay." And so he goes and grabs me, go make some introductions and tell her that, "Oh yeah, we do coffee and whatever." And she's like, "Oh, okay. All right, cool." And so kind of just left it off like that. And then from that point on, it was probably about 5 months, 6 months later, hadn't heard a word. So just, all right, cool. Nothing that came of it, but whatever. And then I go and get a call from her. It says, "Hey, this is Deb. I talked to you about the coffee stuff. I'm going to be opening up here soon. I need to have some coffee." It's like, "Wow, sweet." So then go and run down there. And what she had originally described to me was she was going to have a home decor store, but she's like, "Yeah, we might have like a card table or a small table that has some press pots of coffee like for it." And through conversations that she had in the neighborhood, what started as a card table converted into 1/3 of the building to be a coffee shop. And then she goes, "Well, I have all this stuff. I have a coffee shop. I've never brewed coffee before. We're opening in like a week or so. What do I got to do?" And so then we were able to go and so like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
And it was actually up until the night before, it was me and her dialing in her espresso machine I remember it was 12:30 at night. The night before she opened, getting her stuff all ready so that she actually knew how to brew coffee the following morning.
Wow.
And then on the front side, she's like, "Well, how much coffee should I buy?" It's like, "I've got no clue, but here, take this much. That should last you a week." And so then we do that midnight. I go to work the following morning. I get a call from her at about like 11 o'clock. And she goes, "Clay, I'm out of coffee. We've gone through it all. I need you to go roast some more." So I stopped by my boss, said, "Hey, I got to run off to the roaster. I got to go roast some coffee up quick." And so cut out of work early, went and roast some coffee, had it there in about 45 minutes. And our kind of relationship kind of went from then.
Right.
What's cool about that though is that's what's cool about small businesses is you create loyalty that way. Like you're able to be flexible. You're able to, hey, we can help you out. We're not just some corporate whatever, or, get you in by this deadline. Nope, sorry, you missed the deadline. We can't do your coffee anymore. So Clay went above and beyond there, and Deb at Neutral Grounds was our biggest customer then for several years until when she decided to retire, we were her first call to make. It was like, "You guys want to run the coffee shop?" And
yeah, because she had kind of decided at a point that she wanted to go and take a step back, wanted to go and take a step towards retirement. But she had a really solid crew of ladies that ran the decor side of her business. And so then those ladies had gone and said like, "Hey, why don't you let us just keep," because originally she was planning to just, either close or sell off the whole thing. Yeah. And then her crew said like, "Hey, we got this. Let us take that, figure out something to do with the coffee, but we'll take care of the decor side." And then that was the perfect opportunity for us because, we had kind of built up that relationship with her and had been our coffee supplier. That was the only call she made. She said, "Hey, what do you think?" We were able to figure it out. And it was great for us too, because obviously when you start a brand new business, your scariest day is that first day to see if anybody comes. And one of the nice things that we had baked into here was that she had already had a established clientele and established name. And so we were able to definitely start off some really good training wheels on our business that a lot of times you don't have that luxury to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now that actually brings me up to another, how can, or I should say, how have, since that transition, how has business trended, and have you continued to see that support from the local residents in the community?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our biggest issue that we've ever had is, oh, there's a coffee company around here. Like we're horrible at marketing, evidently. I'm a marketing major, but we're terrible at getting our names out there.
So it's pretty much Eric's fault.
Right. And I'm okay
But
with
we
that.
know that we're bad at it.
We
So
do.
We're at least self-aware.
So we're aware of it. But as Clay said, what was cool about that was you have an established group of people, and so many people are like, we are so thankful that you guys reopened. This was our spot. We love this. We felt like it wasn't the same without having this in Lower North Mankato. And so, you know, you have that swell of already built-in customers there. And then a whole bunch of our beans customers had never even heard of it to begin with, and we're pushing them that way. Like, this is awesome. This really exists. That's so cool. So
Yeah.
kind of getting a
Probably
group of all those together. That I mean, January, you know, when it's -20, nobody wants to go outside. So obviously sales weren't great there. But since then,
in reality, opening a new retail venture during the middle of winter is probably not the best time in the world. But what's been really cool about it, especially now that we've been in there and have a bit of a track record, you know, like our sales tracking system, you can go and see, all right, week over week, month over month, day over day, you can go and see that flywheel starting to move, starting seeing that positive reinforcement, people coming back, people enjoying it. The reviews that we've gotten on the place have all been great. We are really close to a perfect 5-star rating on Google. I think we're at a 4.9 off of basically close to 100 reviews. And people are, you know, telling more people. And now it's just, we got to let people know, because our hardest thing is just to go and have people give us a shot, have them go and realize that we exist. Because once they're able to go and come through and try it, they like it, they come back and they tell their friends about it.
And we're just trying to fill in the gaps, really, because, I mean, one of the hallmarks of working the farmers market on Saturdays is all the people that walk up and go, oh, this was fantastic. Where's your brick and mortar? And until last October, it was, you're looking at it, this trailer that we sometimes operate during the week and one day on the weekend. So to actually point them in a direction, if they want to find a bag that we don't have for sale anymore, we sold out already, go to the roastery. We've got it, you know, or the roastery.
The coffee
house. I knew what I meant. So, I mean, like,
it doesn't get out much.
No, I live in a windowless dungeon, but that's not the point. The point is, we need help marketing. And word of mouth is the best way to do that. So if you like, you know, what we're doing, tell everybody.
And I will say too that we lucked out really. The biggest thing I was afraid of with getting the coffee house was hiring. Like, I have a full-time job. I have 4 kids. I have a lot of things going on. You guys are obviously busy too. You have 3 kids, and John's super busy. Just got married.
I have a garden.
He has a garden. So it's like we don't have much more extra time to do this. No. And so when we hired, we have a great manager that she helped us with the coffee trailer, other things. She's been running with this, and she hired an amazing team that every single one of them are personable. Every single one of them make you feel comfortable and welcome there. And it's been really cool to see that I've been extremely pleasantly surprised to see how awesome they've really just taken it. And then they'll text us and be like, hey, what do you think about this for an idea for this? I'm like, yeah, run with it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, you hear horror stories about just either struggles of getting people, or the people that you get, they're just, you know, you struggle to have them actually do the job well. We've not, luckily, knock on
wood
this
here.
isn't wood, but knock on. We have had the exact opposite experience. The crew that we've got largely the exact same crew that we started with. And on retail, you know, that's uncommon to go and hold on to them, keep them. But we lucked out that the people that we hired, they are just genuinely good people. Mm-hmm. And if you are a genuinely good person, you can figure out the technical. It's you just know how to go and work that customer interaction so that the customer enjoys their experience, and you can smile. Even if something goes bad, you can go and, you know, all right, here's how we're going to do this.
We're going to figure this out.
We're going to figure this out. It's going to be okay.
And that could actually increase loyalty too. It's like if you turn a bad into something extra great, then they rave about it, because I mean, anybody had so many bad issues, and then the people are like, really, you didn't even offer to, you know, do this or whatever. It's like, we try and go above and beyond, and they've been great with that.
Yeah, and we actually have one example of it. Would be one of our baristas. She went and actually graduated from college for MSU in the spring, and she now lives in the cities. She still comes back to go and do shifts on the regular because she enjoys. Because she enjoys it. Right. Yeah, you don't hear about that for other retail type shops, but she comes back because she enjoys the job as much as she does, enjoys the other coworkers that she's got, enjoys the environment, and enjoys the customers.
It's rare to find all the right people, but it's even more rare to find people that actually like what they're doing and they learn it quickly. I've got an assistant roaster that knows what he's doing. He does everything I do, minus the maintenance and some of the cleaning and things like that. But he can package and roast anything that I can, and he picked it up in 2 or 3 weeks, and he's been solid and reliable ever since.
Yep,
there's hope for me in retirement.
Like yeah,
we might have an opening if you need it.
We got pretty high standards, though.
All right, couple extra things here. What do you have future plans? Like, do you have any other aspirations? Is this just going to continue to be organic and grow as it comes, as opportunities arise, or do you have some people have that it is still to an extent I'm hearing a little bit of a hobby because obviously you have your jobs. Sort of I'd say like coaching for me is sort of my hobby. I wish it could be a career, but it's my hobby. I love it, but I do teach and I love my physical education job. But do you have any kind of a roadmap or a plan or this would be a peak, the peak of the mountain, if we get here?
Well, our 5-year plan's always been to crush Starbucks.
It's a rolling 5-year plan.
They're a small roaster out in the Washington State area.
If you haven't heard of them.
Yeah. Is this dog ears?
But it is kind of funny because I'll read business books and they'll what's your 5-year plan? What's your 3-year plan? Full disclosure, we've never had one.
To stay alive.
It's kind of more exactly. keep your options open and see where we go. I mean, we don't have we have to be here to be successful. We have to. It's as long as we're having fun doing this, as long as we feel like we're continuing to move forward. I mean, I don't feel maybe we haven't had this meeting in a while on what we legitimately need to do, but it's been kind of like a take a ride and see what happens and see what opportunities
and
arise.
obviously we've professionalized things as we've grown and stuff. We now have payroll. We got we have ongoing meetings where we'll get together and go through what the performance was. I mean, we'll do all those things and everything, but yeah, a lot of it kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, is we want to go and keep this going, keep enjoying what we're doing, keep putting out something that people talk about and enjoy having, and when that stops, we'll change that, and hopefully it doesn't, and we'll keep rocking and rolling.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we all have no specific plan, but when an opportunity comes up, the heads come together and go, oh, this is an opportunity for risk and exploration. Let's do it. Get the wives together. Right. We're going to do it anyway. So it always ends up being, why not?
That's kind of how the coffee house ended up being. It was a very if you guys want to do this, we need to decide now. And this is during a huge time of flux in the fall. I mean, you were building a house, or buying a house. We had a whole bunch of things going on. And this is a very inconvenient time to do this, but the numbers make sense. We really want to do it. Hey,
plus it'd be really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And we're probably really good at it because we know how to make coffee. So how hard can it be to run a coffee house, which we have no experience doing?
Yeah, we found out that buying food there's more art to buying food than there is.
Right.
Because the roasting coffee part we had down the entire time. But the one of the early lessons we had was on how do you balance the quantity of food you have versus how many people actually go and buy it, because you might be able to go and get the lowest price per pound when you buy the 50-pound thing of spinach, but when you throw out 42 pounds of it, the economics kind of go the other direction. So
yeah, we actually had in December, we actually purchased more food than we sold.
Yeah, that was our first full month of going, and so we definitely learned from that, and don't do that anymore. But
yeah, that is hard. I mean, it is hard to figure out that balance. I know even with sitting here with Mankato with concessions, and we've done some stuff bought locally too, like whether it's Pita Pit or other places, and you're guessing. You have to have it on hand, and you don't know if you're going to sell through it all or if you're going to end up throwing out some of it because you can't keep it, right? So,
yeah. Well, and one thing that's actually been really fun, not to totally change subject, but you made me think of just this last weekend. So we'll do graduation parties, which have been really well received, and they're just fun too because it's open bar. So all people are like, ooh, I want to get the cool frappe and like double shot of whatever and stuff. I want
5 shots mocha.
I want to be Scott. I want to be Scott productive.
It's a good start.
But one of the things that we've also done along the way here too is, and maybe child labor laws or whatever, but our kids enjoy going and being part of this too.
Those don't apply to a family.
Yeah, it doesn't
business.
There we go.
Oh, then
there we
we're all
go.
set.
Oh yeah, they
You're
get
all
free
good.
room.
As long as you're feeding them.
Don't worry, they get free room and board.
Right.
But one of the things that like we've done along the way is we've included them. And one of our kids' favorite things to do is on Saturdays they'll go and be in the actual coffee trailer with us, helping serve drinks. And what's been really fun is to go and see that kind of start a little bit of that entrepreneurial thing, but also just the, all of the experience that they get because of it. They get to have the customer experience or the customer service element. They go and get to do some math by making change. And the thing that made me think of it was you're talking about the concessions on what do you buy and what do you have for waste. So we had done a event and we're cleaning out the trailers, me and my daughter, and we're cleaning out the trailer. And one of the things I had to empty the ice bin, and the ice bin was fairly full. And so we were going and talking about it. And I asked her, I said like, well, you see what I'm doing right now? And she's like, you're putting ice on we're just throwing the ice out. And I said, no, I'm throwing dollars away. And she's like, oh, what are you talking about? I said, well, think about, we run this as a business. And, had we not overspent in this, would we have been better off if we hadn't? And she said, oh yeah, totally. Because we're down $10 or whatever. And I said, okay, but on the flip side, what if we had run out of ice? How many drinks would we not have sold, and which is worse? And so it was just kind of fun to be able to go and talk through that with her, have her recognize and do the thought process, and just have the kids be part of that experience.
Well, and even to bounce off that, like it's a family experience for all. We try and get, John's newly married, so we're gonna get Madeline in here as much as we can. But historically, like we've always had the kids in the trailer. Like my son, he's 11 and a half, and he begs to work there. His older daughter, she's been doing it as well. And our wives, like Britta and Candy, have both taken on like the trailer events, and Britta does a lot of the concoctions for making the different new flavors, and my wife does the graphic design and different things like that. So it's really kind of cool seeing that like it's much less of a job when everybody's in it together, and we're like, oh yeah, let's do this. Oh yeah, it sounds cool.
That sounds a lot like Nestler's. I'm blanking right now, but that did the donut truck, right? Same thing. They kind of bought that as a side business, but wanted to make it sort of a family affair and use it as, make money, but also as a tool to teach their kids a little bit about business and ordering and buying and selling and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, it was kind of both. It was like, let's do this as a side business in the summertime, but also, a way to kind of make it a family affair. And yours, maybe you didn't have that in the back of your head right away, but it's turned into that, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely a legacy, strategy to think, okay, now that we have the brick and mortar place, as long as it's up and functional in a few more years, there will be children connected to this whole thing that started in the trailer and are capable of running the coffee house in their adolescent to high school and whatever years. If they stick around for college, something like that, you have a decade of solid leadership in there.
Yeah, and cool that stuff too, but they're also highly incentivized by tips. So
yeah,
no, they
they'll wink at you, or they're trying to tell jokes.
You weren't supposed to say that. This is supposed to be this really feel good moment.
Yeah, exactly. I want to
They
live
like money too.
They're getting all the benefits, but at the same point, it does have that underlying incentive there too. And it's kind of funny because my daughter especially, she is a very shy sort. And so if you talk to her, she's not going to go and she doesn't want to have a conversation with everybody. But you put tips inside of there. Oh, I love your necklace. I love your umbrella.
You got a 10-year-old saying that, like, here, take $5.
Yeah.
And can I have 2 more coffees? And lastly, I think you named it. You gave us a few, but is there any other little fun facts or things from, you gave us a few of those kind of funny things from startup and stuff. Any other fun facts, between the group of you working together, or just any kind of things that maybe somebody might not know about, the company from the startup to now, or, kind of some funny things that have happened along the way. You've touched on quite a few, but is there anything that you maybe missed that, and if there's not, there's not?
One of them was that we were actually on a list with the fire department.
Oh yeah.
So at our original like
The naughty
commercial
list
space,
or I mean, what
A
kind
list of
list?
don't come unless you see flames.
yep, apparently they have this list. And so, again, we're at the basement of a strip mall.
We are no longer.
Yep, and we're doing this on a low budget or whatever. So we hired a friend to go and help us do the ventilation and stuff. And so one thing that we learned is when you go and have ventilation for a thing that produces smoke, you really should go and have the like outlet look like a smokestack, because
have a real chimney.
yeah, have an actual chimney. Because
Instead of having it
what we
just
had was
blowing
just
right back into the building.
well, what we had was just a standard roof vent. And apparently when you're on Madison Avenue and you have a roof vent that's billowing out smoke
Out of a
lot
normal strip mall that has just like a chiropractor.
there's a lot of good people in the world that will call the fire department. Yeah.
Stop
And then
being
after
so
they
nice to us.
yeah, and so after they show up a number of times, then they go and tell us like, tell you what, we're going to put you on this list. And what that list has is basically unless there are visible flames, we don't come. I said, perfect. That sounds
and
great.
you know Chuck and Aline Kind.
Yes.
So Aline was our first volunteer coffee roaster, and her first day in there, she's roasting, and she calls me, the fire department's here. I'm like, what do you mean the fire department's here? What happened?
Yeah, because up till that point, we'd always been roasting early in the morning. So it's
Right.
dark out and people don't see the smoke.
And she's doing it at like noon.
Yep.
And so yeah, they called
So
thinking that
So
there was
on
fire
the
there.
positive, at least you can greet the firefighters by name when they show up often enough. Yeah, I mean, when they show up not even in uniform or they're just doing the roll by just to double check, it looks like, came from a Moondogs game because they were in the neighborhood. Okay.
Good, you're still on
Fire
fire.
chief in flip-flops and shorts.
And I
saying,
think they're kinda-
you're fine. Just let it burn out.
I think they were curious too, because whenever we have people come to like the roastery and stuff, we usually get really good attendance. And same thing with the fire department. I don't think they needed that many
Yeah, they
guys.
need
but,
42 people to show up to
Yeah,
the
it's like, hey, we're gonna go check out the coffee roastery. All
So
right, well,
when we
come
moved
too.
into our new location, they started coming over to get free coffee once they discovered it was there from doing the sweep of the whole building.
Yeah, they figured that we owe them a couple. So
Well, I'd be like, hey, did you burn a little something that you want to maybe give me a bag of? So,
yeah, right.
I did have one thing written down. So like, you have the Beans Coffee House, right? Coffee House. I gotta say it right. I always want to say shop. And so if you have a brewery, you have like a tap room or a place where you can go and sample things and stuff. Any special name for like when you are a company that actually produces coffee and sells coffee to a lot of different people, Hy-Vee and others, and you have your local shop that you also own and run. Is there a name for that? It's not a tap room. What you haven't? If there's nothing for it, we should come up with something.
See, I think coffee house is actually a throwback to that. It's prior to the tea houses in colonial America. They had coffee houses. That's what they were.
And that was that. So coffee house would have been actually like the way that they.
Sure,
Maybe,
we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
And then they came back after the revolution because, who wants to drink the king's tea, right? So coffee houses were popular again. And I guess we've just made it more boutique in years past to shops or cafes or whatever you want to call
Cool.
them.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I just thought it sounded cool.
That's
Read a
totally what
book
you're going
about
for.
history, man.
Yeah, it was John's idea to call it Beans Coffee House.
Actually,
I just
it was
thought,
my idea, but no big deal.
I seconded it.
John, if that's legit, that's awesome because it sounds about as legit as Rich O'Brien's reason why they call it Lookout Drive. You'll have to check out the podcast for that.
All right.
So,
Oh, snap.
well, thanks for being here today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Like I said, the first of our North Mankato businesses to be on, and like you said, we're not real great, at marketing. Well, this is for me when we started this up. One of the reasons we did it, we want to promote North Mankato businesses and let people know what we have, where to find it, because there's probably still quite a few people that might listen to this that don't know, what we have, Hilltop versus Lower North and for businesses. So hopefully this is a way for not only North Mankato residents, but other people that will watch the podcast to learn about you and your background and your history and hopefully patronize the coffee house.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. And just for the people that are interested, we do have the Beans Coffee House. It's down on Belgrade, a couple doors down from Dino's. And kind of what you've gotten from this podcast, we're just a group of local guys. We each have our own families here in town. We've been in Mankato for a long time. Brought here originally by college, stayed here long term by choice just because we enjoy the community and love to go and have people stop by and check us out.
And I will say too, like it's really cool. And I bring this up every time I talk to somebody, but like it really hits me. I'm from the Twin Cities originally, and up there, you're Minnesota proud. Like, yeah, you're all about Minnesota and everything, but it's not like you're Champlin proud or Maple Grove. Down here, if you're, Mankato area, you're North Mankato, like you are Mankato, North Mankato proud. Like even if our coffee sucked, we would have a good, solid base of customers just because they care that we're local. And it really showed up a whole ton with our coffee house here. Like they didn't care what it was going to be in there. They were going to come and support us. So we really appreciate the residents, specifically of North Mankato, supporting the coffee house like they have. So,
and the coffee does taste good.
We love it. Yeah, we think it's great.
Right. Just to get the last word in because I want it. Feedback is important. Being the bean meister, master roaster, whatever you want to call it. If something's amiss, I want to know about it because that's my baby. This is a craft industry. It's not just industrial grade slop. So, if it's tasting good, I'm doing my job right. We like the feedback. Go and like everything. Go ahead and give us a 5-star or a 1-star review. One of those, just to make sure we know what we're doing and we're doing it well. And
actually, not to steal your last word, but it made me think of something. One of the things that's been actually really cool at the coffee house itself. So we've gotten really good reviews, and we've had a couple interactions that weren't so positive. But one of the things that was really cool about being, a local group, where we are just people here in town, I've been really surprised at the willingness of people to, rather than jumping on the social media platform or onto like Google reviews and making a proclamation to the world of how they were taken advantage of or how they had a bad experience, how many people are willing to go and send us a direct Facebook message and just said, hey,
or an
this
email.
happened, or an email and just said, hey, this happened. Just want to make sure that you know. And it's awesome because, I don't ever want you to have that experience, and B, just let me have the ability to fix it before just, airing your grievances to the world. And so I've been blown away by how people have done that.
Absolutely.
And from a business standpoint, it is awesome because it allows you again to, fix that thing. And if you can go and handle those interactions appropriately, you've made a very, stable and loyal customer from that point forward.
And I'm assuming you are obviously replying to those
immediately
personally, right?
Yep, definitely.
And I know that I had a few surprise, like eyes wide open looks from North Mankato residents when I'd show up at their doorstep, knocking on the door to talk about an issue they may have had. And they're like, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'd like to just meet with people in person, So I think that personal response from you on email or whatever it is, means a ton.
Yeah, and we're just thankful for people to give us that opportunity because it's super easy to just be angry and let that anger show up as a 5-star review with all these things on a Google whatever. But the fact that people gave us the chance to fix it was pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Well, thanks again for being here. You did have quite a few good things to say.
Yeah.
Roastmaster General, whatever. We're going to have
Proud of you, John.
We're going to have to, yeah. Very good job. Hopefully we'll have you on again. And like I said, we just wish the best for your company and for the coffee house. Hopefully you're here to stay for a long time in North Mankato as a coffee house and also as just a company too, producing beans for a lot of people, hopefully for a lot of years to come. So we appreciate you being on and sharing your story and hopefully to have you back again.
Well, thanks, sir.
All right.
Come
thank you
find
very
us
much.
at the coffee house or at the farmer's market. We happen to meet you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
This has been C.O.R.E Conversations, a City of North Mankato podcast. For more information about city happenings, visit northmankato.com. Thanks for listening.